Rook. I've got it right. And I talked to Gulam earlier, and he said it's okay if I refer to him as Gulam, okay? I like his first name and my last name together. We'd never get out of here. Gulam is a living library volunteer who tells an incredible story that touches the hearts of everyone who hears about his experience. His story helps Calgarians from war-torn countries recognize that there are other people with similar experiences. Tonight we have a special surprise for you as Gulam will share his story with us about his book, How We Grew Up Without a Mother.
Hi everyone, my name is Gulam Rasul. Originally I'm from Afghanistan, but I was born in Kabul. I lost my mother and my father still alone with 6 children. At that time my country was in war. Soviet Union was occupied my country and my country was in war. For my father, it was very difficult to take care of his 6 children, and we separated. I went to live in residential school in Kabul. In 1984, Soviet Union government and government of my country, they decided to send children to Soviet Union for the education. They wanted us to become skilled and to help future of our country. I was 7 years old when I left my country and I went to for the education to Kazakhstan. I went to Kazakhstan and I was living in the small city, the name is Turkestan. I was living there in residential school. 8 years later, I graduated 8 classes and I supposed to continue my education, but the things went wrong. Soviet Union government and my government, they collapsed and I had no support to continue my education. I forced to go back to my country. I came back to my country, I went back to my city, I met my family, and I thought now my country is free and no more occupantes, and finally we can live in peace. The war was so strong and it's just difficult to describe. Residents of Kabul, they just moving from south to west, from west to north, and they didn't know where to go. There was no safe place. The killing machines, I mean rockets, they reached them everywhere. The only job at that time I could do to carry a gun and fight against my people. I tried to do some business. I put a small container by the street and was selling gasoline. But a few days later, the tanks came and they crushed my container and pushed it to the river. Probably I was lucky because my neighbor, who was a doctor, who sold everything he had to build a walk-in clinic, it was also destroyed. And he was crying like a child. One day I came to my father and I told him if I can leave my country. And my father wasn't really happy, but he knew if I leave my country, I will be safer. I left my country in 1993. I went to Iran. Through the Pakistan, I reached the borders of Iran, and from there, several days walking by my feet, deserts, and I arrived to Tehran. In Tehran, I found a hardly job. I was working in a factory which was making blankets. I was not free, and I had to stay all the time in the factory because I was scared to be caught by police and sent back to my country. I was working for 4 years in this factory, and after I realized that I have to leave this country, at least to find a job that I can do it free. I went to some Iranian small island, and from there the local man who had a small, powerful boat. He took me to the, I wanted to go to Dubai. He took me to the borders of Emirates. From there, I start my journey to Dubai. I was walking 2 weeks later after climbing high mountains and walk hot deserts. I finally arrived in Dubai. But I was caught by police and I was sent to the jail, temporary jail. And from there, I was put to the big fishing boat and I was returning back to the Iranian borders. I tried second time, but it also didn't help me and I didn't reach Dubai. And then I decided to go to Russian Federation. It wasn't easy to cross the border, but somehow I managed with the false passport to cross Iranian border to Turkmenistan. From there I went to Moscow and I was living in St. Petersburg. I was living there and working. In Russia I did odd jobs. Several years later the life became more difficult because I applied for the immigration to stay in Russian Federation, but I was refused. After that, I didn't know what to do, and I found some of my friends told me if you can go to immigration. I went to immigration to Moscow and asked to immigrate some another countries, and I was accepted to come to Canada. And it wasn't easy to get a Canadian visa. I had to collect a lot of papers, and which takes me 2 years to collect, and finally I got Canadian visa. I came directly from St. Petersburg to Calgary. I was accepted for school, and while I was learning, one day I came to the Calgary Public Library and I asked for volunteering if there is some volunteer job. Just I wanted to improve my English. They accepted me as a living book, and now I'm living book volunteer, and I have a lot of story to tell, and any kind of stories, sad, tragic, and even romantics. And with the support of government and help of my teachers today, I'm upgrading my high school, and I also have a part-time job. And I'm really excited to be volunteer at the Calgary Public Library. Thank you very much for your attention.